are industrial manufacturers embracing artificial intelligence? I'm joined today by Roy Mathews. He is Managing Director of Data Analytics with KPMG. Hello, Roy.
Hello, Bob.
And Dave Neely. He is Managing Director in KPMG's Intelligent Automation Practice. Hi, Dave.
Hey, hello. Good afternoon.
So let me direct the first question to you, Roy, and Dave, if you want to chime in after that, you're certainly welcome to do so. But I'm looking at this new study from you folks, Thriving in an AI World. Roy, what are the biggest takeaways from that study?
Yeah, a little bit about the study. So we surveyed 7 industries, the financial services, retail, healthcare, life sciences, technology, government, and industrial manufacturing. This is the first year that we are including industrial manufacturing, so we do not have a comparison from previous year's findings. But we interviewed overall 950 full-time business leaders and decision makers, and approximately 150 folks from each of the industries that I mentioned. So the overall survey, that is the result of that. So I'm going to only cover the industrial manufacturing finding here.
Okay.
So we found that 93% of the industrial manufacturing business leaders say that AI is either moderately or fully functional in their organization. That is the highest that we have found among all the industries. So again, we don't have a comparison to previous years, so just this is the first year, but also we found that 72% of the business leaders say COVID-19 has sped up the adoption of AI, and that is also the highest among the 7 industries that we surveyed. Another finding is that 93% of the manufacturing business leaders say they wish their company would more aggressively move to adopt AI technology. Some of the takeaway that I see is, why industrial manufacturing is higher in AI adoption. Either it is moderately or fully functional AI. I would say it is primarily due to the fact that AI is a great enabler for Industry 4.0 initiatives. So that's a smart factory type of initiative. So AI is quite a bit helping in terms of improving smart manufacturing and smart factory. So that's probably the reason why we would think industrial manufacturing is higher in adoption.
Even so, some pretty high numbers, because my impression had been that a lot of companies were still sitting on the fence with AI. But Dave, I guess you must be heartened by that too. This is right down your alley, and that's part of your practice. And were you at all surprised by those high numbers?
Yeah, we were, and Roy and I have discussed this. I mean, it was a little bit of a counterintuitive result, frankly, to see that industrial manufacturing was at that level of adoption, right? Because I think our experience working with our clients is sometimes manufacturing clients, while they may have excellent technology on the product side, and it's absolutely market leading when you get into aerospace and defense companies and other things in terms of the technology we're going into the products, in their back office and their business operations have been somewhat primitive. So the notion that the survey findings came out with such a high adoption rate, I think was a little counterintuitive for us. And we're still trying to figure out what's an explanation for that. And it may be that the companies, as they responded to the survey, were interpreting things they were doing in terms of production, automation in manufacturing, the production lines and other things, and classifying that as artificial intelligence.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe they're more willing to call it that. I noticed, Dave, in your title, the phrase intelligent automation, which is probably just a few years ago, some words that people were a little bit shy about using. Like, I don't know. Now it seems like nobody is shy about it. It's like it's just widely considered to be the thing. So you're saying that maybe just the terminology has changed to what they were doing.
Well, I think it's, as anything, when you respond to a survey, it may be responding to the interpretation of what the language meant and what it meant in their business. There's no doubt that these companies are investing in technology. The question is how are they translating that to the production side? Are they translating that more to the kind of the back office and business operations side.
Yeah, yeah. Roy, what do these the companies that were surveyed, did you address the issue of the result or the impact on humans in the organization as automation takes such a hold in their operations?
Yeah, it is true that AI is replacing some jobs, and those are the low-skilled jobs, generally speaking. But it's also true that the AI is adding more jobs in those high-tech areas, cognitive technologies, machine learning, and data type fields. So there is an offset in terms of jobs,
Mm-hmm.
but as one evolution that we are seeing is that the AI working along with humans used to improve consumer experience of products is what is actually a trend that we are seeing, not just AI itself functioning within organizations, but rather AI and humans working along together. And several technologies are supporting that, and that's a trend that we are seeing which is encouraging.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that there is no net job loss, but it also gives opportunity for retraining and upskilling the current labor force. That's also giving opportunities for better wages and growth in income for those workers.
And
Well,
maybe if I can just add to
sure.
that, it's one of the surprising and again maybe counterintuitive results we're finding is you would think again when you talk automation and robots and other things that as being very threatening from a labor standpoint, right? And people being afraid for their jobs and hey, the work that I'm doing is going to be automated, I'm going to be replaced by a robot. We're actually finding in practice it's quite different. We're finding that automation becomes a very positive from an employee satisfaction standpoint impact because frankly, a lot of the work that is being automated or replaced by technology is work that's very mundane, it's routine, it's drudgery, and it's work people don't really like to do in their day-to-day jobs. They're trained people, they're educated people, they'd like to be working on more sophisticated things, but they end up copying spreadsheets and other things. And so the introductions of these technologies in practice, when we implement it, we're finding that is actually sometimes positive from an employee satisfaction standpoint.
Well, I'm curious because of all aspects of business, I would think that manufacturing was the first to adopt automation. And this, of course, goes back decades and decades. They weren't calling it AI by any means, but certainly they were calling it automation. So now, how is it different? What does AI bring to the table that traditional automation didn't bring in terms of the actual processes and functions that it performs? Roy, do you have a perspective on that?
Well, I think the difference is the technological capabilities to process data.
Mm-hmm.
So today, with the cloud technologies, endless processing power, there is much more potential to include all types of data, large volumes of data that is currently available. And in the old days, that wasn't possible because the computing power wasn't readily available. And that's probably the biggest difference that I see. So now you're able to capture data that is constantly being tracked through the sensors, deployed all over, all the equipment that is within the factories. And so now that volume of data, that velocity of data can be now processed and used in machine learning algorithms.
Yeah.
So AI can be much more prevalent with the use of data.
Yeah.
And plus, of course, the algorithms have also improved and much more talent in terms of data scientists and others are also available.
Yeah, well, sure. I mean, the big thing with AI, I mean, it's not just that it collects the data, it does something with it through analytics. It gives you conclusions and insights that a human being couldn't possibly have managed with just dealing with the mass of data out there. So, Dave, do you think that machines are making decisions now on the production line, or are they offering prediction? They're offering the information for the humans to make the ultimate decisions?
So I think, Bob, you made a great point there, which is the distinction between labor replacement, which is the transactional work, mundane work that can be basically automated through software, and augmentation of human decisions,
Mhm.
right? And that's, I think, maybe the transformational, the change is these, if you really consider not automation, but artificial intelligence and intelligent automation, it's augmenting critical human decisions. So we're training the software, we're training the bots to help us make better decisions that are high value, critical, but involve massive amounts of data that people usually can't process. So it's not about actually eliminating the experts, but it's providing the experts with better insights and information that allows them to make better recommendations and business decisions.
Mhm. Yeah, maybe not a lights out factory, so to speak, which
Yeah.
certainly such things do exist with or without the label of AI, but it sounds like the human's still going to be there somewhere in the facility. Roy, going forward, you guys going to do this study again, like in a year, or how often are you going to revisit the topic?
We expect to do the study again next year. It's an annual survey,
Mhm.
so usually that happens in the early part of the year, and we expect to continue.
And
Uh,
do you expect we'll see even, 93%, again, a big number, but do you think
right.
next year,
It, it,
based on what we're learning now, maybe even better next year? Right?
It'll be a test of that comparison, right? Is it going to be better? So, I mean, the trend is showing that it will be better. There'll be more adoption, but 93% is pretty high. So we probably are expecting a consistent set of numbers next year.
And Dave, post-pandemic, you think this trend will continue?
Well, I think so. I think the pandemic maybe was a forcing function that made companies rethink like the importance of some of these technologies. So I think this will get the ball rolling and maybe we'll see the adoption rate even increase.
Mhm. Well, good to hear. I mean, manufacturing continues its pioneering role in automation in the many forms it's taken over the decades. And I want to thank both of you, Roy Mathews and Dave Neely, give us insight into just where AI is taking place in industrial manufacturing today. Thanks to both of you. Really appreciate it.
Super.
Thank you,
Thank
Bob.
you.